Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 eyeshadow palettes for the summer season. Recently I shared my top 10 palettes for the fall season, so if you guys are interested in that, I'll leave it in the cards up here. But in that video I mentioned that I wanted to do a top 10 for summer because in case some of you guys don't know or if you forgot, in this world that we live in there is a southern and northern hemisphere, and for those of us that live down here, we are going into our summer season. The weather's getting warmer. I don't know why I'm in a sweater because it is so warm right now. But yes, we do celebrate Christmas in the summer season. I know, shocking, because I feel like a lot of people tend to forget that we exist down here, that we experience a different season than you guys do. Because every time I upload a video that's related to spring and summer during winter or fall on the other side of the world, people are like, what? Spring? Summer? How is this possible? Are you crazy? But yes, we do experience a different season than you guys. Anyway, today we're going to talk about some summer palettes. It seems like you guys wanted to see this regardless of the season. And if you just want to play with some color, then this video is for you. We're going to be talking about a lot of color today because when I think of summer, I think of a luscious, tropical, bright, vibrant colors. And I have 10 palettes here that showcase all of that. So if you guys are curious about my top 10 palettes for the summer season, then please continue watching. So for the first palette, I actually did mention it in my top 10 fall palette, but it is the ODEN'S times the Fancy Face, the Hummingbird Palette. This is the palette that Tina created. It is also part of the Legendary Diversa collection, which I'm also a part of as well. But Hummingbird is such a tropical, luscious dream. You will receive so many beautiful metallics in here that have different finishes, different tones, and then you have the bright, vibrant mattes to complement that. I feel like there's just so much you can do with this palette. You can actually do something very bright and vibrant, or you can actually go a little bit deep. Like, they have some deeper shadows in here as well. But I think Tina does such an amazing job with this palette because the color story is so unique. Like, you won't see a color story like this, and it really is such a beautiful tropical summer palette. Like, I love it. The blues in here, the blues are just chef's kiss. I actually used the shade Hibiscus on my lower lash line today, just a little bit mixed with like a brown, so just so I could match my eyeliner, which yes, I am recreating Stacey's stereotype eyeliner looks, and I think this one is my favorite one so far. I think it's really fun, but you can see that on my TikTok if you guys are curious about these eyeliners. The next palette I have is from Judy's Place. This is the Zulu Palette, and I've had this one in my collection for a while now. It is a 9-pan palette, and you do get 6 mattes and 3 metallics, which to me is a pretty good ratio. But again, when you look at this palette, it is such a fun little palette for a 9-pan. I feel like there's a lot of looks and different color stories you can do with this, considering it is a 9-pan. I got this I think in 2019, so like I've had this for 2 years now, and I still remember the looks that I created from this. I found them to be very fun and very summery, just a lot of color, but you can actually do something a little bit more subtle with this brown and then the pinks as well. So I feel like for a 9-pan palette you do get a lot of variety, and Judy's Place is pretty affordable as well. They always have sales at that too, and the pan size are huge as well. I feel like Judy's Place, such amazing shadows. I absolutely love them, and I would highly recommend Zulu for a very fun, bright eyeshadow palette. The next palette is from BH Cosmetics, and this is the Take Me Back to Brazil eyeshadow palette. This is a 35-pan eyeshadow palette, and it is just a full-on rainbow palette. Like, you can see that rainbow gradient as I hold it here, but then you also get these 3 shades here, which is pretty nice as well. You get the matte black, so you can deepen out any eye look. You get this inner corner highlight, and then you get this green, which I don't really understand, but it's still cute. It's still cute. But this palette does lean heavy to the mattes, and the metallics are not really so metallic. I would say they're like a little bit more to the satin side, so you could always go in with this like white hair to make it a little bit more metallic, but I would say for the most part it does lean pretty heavy to the matte. And BH Cosmetics is also another very affordable brand as well. The pan size are really small, but I think if you just want to play with some color and you just want to have one palette that just has everything, then this would be a really good option. You can do so many color stories with this because you literally have the whole rainbow. The packaging is like, you know, just a lot of color, a lot of summer vibes. And also with this palette as well, you can create something very neutral because there is a little bit of browns and warm tones in here too. Next two palettes are from Kaleidos. One of them is discontinued, but this list I feel like I was lacking a little bit of palettes because I really had to find palettes to make the top 10. I love all the palettes, but I had to include some discontinued ones. The first one is not discontinued, so let's talk about that first. It is the Escape Pod from Kaleidos. This palette definitely has a little bit more purples. I feel like a lot of the palettes I showed you have a lot of blues and greens, but this one definitely has a lot of purples. The mattes are so nice to use. You can also create something very daily as well. You can go to the pink side. I did a palette bingo with this as well, and I feel like that was a really nice everyday kind of look to wear. When you look at the palette overall, it might not look like a fun, bright type of palette, but when you look at the shades individually and when you start planning out looks in your head, you can create a lot of beautiful summer looks with this. And I love Kaleidos' formula. I think honestly everything they have in their line, their whole collection is just really good. The metallics are absolutely stunning, have a lot of micro glitters in there, very sparkly. So I feel like this is a really nice summer palette. I think the packaging is very like summery as well, but I love this palette too. And the next palette I also love, but this was discontinued. I'm not sure why. Kaleidos, let's not discontinue some good products, okay? So this is the Futurism, I think it's 5. It's the VR Neon. So this one, oh, it was such a good palette. I used this palette recently in my butterfly look that I posted on Instagram, which my Instagram is still currently disabled. But I did use it in this look and I just fell back in love with this palette. It is a 6-pan palette, so you get 4 mattes, 2 metallics, and it might seem like, you know, you can't really do too much with this because it is 6-pan, but all the colors are just so different from each other. This is definitely leaning towards more of like the start of the rainbow, but I feel like it's still very bright, it's fun, it's tropical, the vibes are there, the formula is there. You can do such a great summer warm look with this palette. I love this palette. So at this point of the video, you might guess we are going into the Colourpop palette in my top 10 spring palettes and my top 10 fall palettes. I do have a majority of Colourpop palettes that will fill up half of the list, and for this video I do have 5 Colourpop palettes. So 2 of these are actually discontinued, so I'll mention them at the end, but I hope it will just give you some like inspo, or if you have the palette, maybe to bring it out and play with it again. But we'll start off with what's still available. So when I was planning for this video, I already knew I was going to mention Hummingbird and this palette. Okay, this palette is the Colourpop Lush Life 12-pan eyeshadow palette, and this came out this year. And I mean, when you look at the packaging is already telling me this is a summer palette. There's a couple palettes that I really love from Colourpop this year, but this would have to be top 3, like for sure. In a way, it kind of does look a little basic, but I promise you it's not. I think the color combo is really fun. I love pairing like a warm tone transition with some greens. I feel like that's very complimentary. So whether you want something a little bit more bright and tropical, you want something a little bit more on the warmer tone side, you can get it with this palette, and I think it is a really stunning, beautiful palette from Colourpop. They did an amazing job with this one. So you get 2, 4, 6, so it's half and half. You get 6 mattes, 6 shimmers, a fairly good ratio. So a really good palette from Colourpop. I feel like, I don't know, I didn't really hear too much about this one. I didn't really see too many people talk about it or use it, but I think it's a really great one from Colourpop, and it's perfect for the summer vibes. The next palette I actually talked about really recently. It was the video about if I could only keep one Colourpop palette in each size. I picked this palette for one of the sizes. So it is the It's All Good eyeshadow palette, and this is one of their mega palettes. But whenever I look at this palette, I always think of summer. The color story is very pink and yellow, which Again, that's another color combo that I love. If you don't want to stray away from your normal daily neutral makeup, but you want to dabble into some color, you have a good variation of pinks here to play with. So with that being said, I do think this is a really great summer palette as well. And next up we have the Cloud Spun palette. So this one is a monochromatic palette, so it is a very pink palette, but I really do love this palette. I didn't get to do a review on it, but I have played with it a couple of times, and out of all the pink palettes, I think overall this might have to be my favorite one. They have Strawberry Shake and Ooh La La, and Ooh La La, if you guys have been around for a while, you know it's one of my favorite monochromatic palettes, but I think this one is a little bit more realistic for me, and I like how there's the pressed glitter right in the middle there. I like the variation of pinks in here, so if you want like a pink palette for the summertime, because I feel like pink is very summery to me, like any kind of like bright neon colors is very summery to me, so I think this is a really great pink palette. It would have matched my look perfectly today, but I feel like Cloud Spun didn't get talked about enough. I didn't even get to talk about it, so I want to show it some love here. I think it's a really great palette, so if you're into pinks, you want some pinks, some bright, vibrant, fun pinks with some beautiful metallics and a glitter, Cloud Spun is a good one. And then the last two palettes are sadly discontinued from Colourpop, which is so sad because these two palettes honestly are like some of my favorite palettes from Colourpop. Let's talk about more of a recent one. I think it came out last year actually, but it's already been discontinued. This is the Oran Out Palette. So this came in their like tie-dye collection, and it was a set of 3. And when I was reviewing those 3, I felt like Oran Out was such a special, unique palette. This definitely could pass as a spring palette as well, but I thought I would put it in my summer. I feel like summer and spring, you know, you could they kind of blend a little bit. I found that this color story was really fun and really unique and different from Colourpop. Although the shades like individually might not be so unique, I think as a color story and a palette, I love this color combo with the minty teals with that lime chartreuse green, and then we have a bit of a yellows on the other row. And again, the pressed glitter. I love pressed glitters these days. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. And I really just enjoyed this palette, and I'm sad that they discontinued it because I feel like this would be such a good palette to have in their lineup. I feel like it's just so different, and the color combo, like the color combo, I also remember the look that I did with this so clearly. I wish they didn't discontinue this because I feel like it would have been such a good palette to keep in their lineup. But the last palette we are taking it back to the start of Colourpop, like quite literally. This is the Yes Please palette, and this was their first eyeshadow palette they came out with, and they have now discontinued it. I always felt it was weird how they put QAF on the cover when it's actually called Yes Please. I think a lot of people got that mixed up, but you can see mine is so dirty. I'm pretty sure the original color of this palette was like white, and mine's like brown. But anyway, Yes Please is just a definition of a beautiful, warm summer palette, okay? And you can see that I've hit pan on one of the shades here, this orange. When is the last time I hit pan on the eyeshadow palette? Especially a bright orange. Yes, I used to be like that, guys. I used to wear this shade all over my eyes like every day. I would go in with Yes Please so hardcore. It's such a well-loved palette of mine, and I feel like this red, oh my gosh, I feel like I might hit pan on that soon if I use it more. But Yes Please is a classic. It's a classic from Colourpop. If you have been with the brand for a long time, you would know how iconic Yes Please was. This got so much hype back in the day. When I look back at this palette and looking at that pan, because that pan is not small, guys. That pan is pretty big. It takes me back. It takes me back to like 2017. I was just at a different place in life. Like, I was not even living in this city. I moved like twice since then. My channel was like at 20K. I was really scraping by. It's crazy how all these palettes like bring me back to a specific time, because when I film my videos on these palettes, like I do 3 looks, which would take me about a week. You know how people, when they smell a certain scent, they get taken back to a time? I have that too. And more my adult life, like I would say my 20s, palettes bring me back to a certain time and bring back memories, but this does bring back a lot of good memories. But that actually does finish the list. These are my top 10 palettes for the summertime in my personal collection. As you guys know, I do have a lot of palettes, but I don't have a lot of like different branded palettes. I have a lot of Colourpop and a little bit of everything else. So I hope this video was still fun to watch. I hope you guys saw some beautiful swatches and got inspired by some colors. Although I do love wearing more muted, romantic, everyday kind of colors, I love playing with color. I think it's so much fun. Like doing this eye look today, although I didn't play with any eyeshadows, it's just really fun to play with color and just like get lost in time. Like that's what I love most about makeup. This year I have done spring, summer and fall, so I could potentially do winter. It might not be a top 10, but I could do a top 10 winter palettes if you guys would like to see that. Maybe I will save it for next year a little bit because I don't know, I'm going into my summer. I can't mentally put myself in a winter state, you know? So quite possibly next year. Let me know if you guys want to see that too. You guys are so nice, you probably say, yes, we want to see it. So I'll film it. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!